Welcome to our weekly homebuyer seminar where we get together and talk about you buying your first house or your next house. I'm Bill Gross, along with my friend and colleague,
Patricia Castillo.
and along with our good friend and colleague and loan officer originator.
Shen Lender. How's it going, guys?
Okay, you waiting for Q there? Or what are you waiting for? And wow, I don't know about you guys, but the market is picked up. I mean, you can read the news and follow all that, but I'm telling you, I got offers coming in. I've got stuff going on. People calling me. What do you see, Patricia?
It's definitely busy. My phone has been ringing more, and I've had more showings, more requests to see property, more conversations about what the market is doing right now, and really just informing clients about, if you're serious about home buying, if you're wanting to get started, you saw a property you like that you think would be appealing to you and would fit your criteria, then talking to them about getting started because the offers are coming in on properties, and I think buyers they're kind of in that that mixed notion where is the market busy, is the war slowing everything down, are people still buying? So um, I just closed an escrow on Monday. I closed one a week ago. We have a couple of listings you and I are working on, Bill. I have some other listings that are on the market as well. And we're getting offers on all of these listings throughout LA County, Orange County. So the buyers are definitely out there looking at property, and we're seeing between 3 and 5 offers on a listing.
Yeah, yeah, and I think the thing that has happened is, one of my theses in the market was always how central interest rates are, and when rates dropped from 7 to 6, I don't think the market it began to adjust, but didn't really adjust the new pricing because the same house at 7%, the payment's a lot less at 6%. And of course, it depends on how much you're putting down. But universally, it costs less. And people buy it at 7% can refinance, and people who bought those houses save money if they refinance at 6. Now, the conflict in Iran, war, whatever you want to call it, we gave back 2/3 of that amount. It's still down a third from where it was a year ago, just FYI. And then now it's come back down to where rates now are 6.3, which means we now have still 2/3 of that drop still available to us. We're still 2/3 of a rate below where we were a year ago. And that has a significant impact on rates. But unlike stock market, unlike the price of gasoline, housing prices don't move right away with the rates. It's slower, but there's some built-in pent-up demand or pent-up price change that people buying now are benefiting. That's why we have more interest than you might think. And when you read the news, it's always negative, I think, in the news. But the reality is there are people who can afford houses, and the rate today is lower than it was a year ago, which means the same house is worth more by definition than it was a year ago.
That's right. In fact,
Yeah.
the escrow I just closed on Monday, I was here in Downey. The home was listed at 799, and we offered 850. So that just goes to show you some neighborhoods are in high demand. Families want to live in certain neighborhoods, so they will pay that premium to live there
Yeah.
and to get out the other offers. I think on this property there was 8 offers, and after we were under contract, there were still offers coming in that were backup, but we had already locked in at the 850 price.
Yeah, and I think this is a case
Yeah,
where, if it's priced right, which means similar to where it was a year ago, there's going to be demand and it's going to go for more. And um, I know I read real estate news every day and week, and there's examples of celebrities who bought a house for 50 million, and they try to list it for 60, and it doesn't sell, and they cut it to 52, and the headline is, price drop $8 million, which is true on the list, but still sold for more than it did a year ago in some cases. So again, it's a pretty active market. I'm pretty busy. And then, Patricia, we had a listing that we put on the market, and we held it open Friday, 4 to 6. Saturday, you didn't do it because it was your birthday. It was Pat Castillo Day on Saturday. For
Happy
those who
belated.
celebrate it.
Thank you.
And then we had it open Sunday. How many people came to those open houses?
Oh my gosh, it was so busy. In fact, when I arrived on Friday, I was starting at 4 p.m. So I arrived at 3:30, and there was a gentleman on the doorstep, and he was just standing there like this, just waiting for me. And he wanted to be the first to see it. So I said, "Well, you accomplished that. You're the first one here. You beat the crowd." Um, so, I mean, that night, I think we had about 12 groups come through. Saturday and Sunday, we had anywhere from at least 17 different groups come in. Sunday, probably more. That's how busy it was, nonstop, just one person after another coming through the front door.
And it wasn't really magical about the house. And I will say, I'm a big believer in list prices. There's some strategies. One is, you want to be below major breakpoints. So when people, like buyers, for example, might look at a house, say to $1 million or $1.5 million in this case. And I thought the house would sell for more, just slightly more than 1.5. But rather than list it for more than 1.5, I said, let's list it 1.499. I know it's a good price for that house. Well, how do I know it's true now based on the attendance at the open houses? And so it's one of those things where, you, as a professional, you want to, use the market, to your advantage. But by the same token, if you price it right, in this case, I think within about $15,000, $20,000 of what it's worth, there'll be a lot of buyers who will look at it, and there'll be a number who will write offers on it, and that's what's happened.
Right. So the buyers end up actually doing the heavy lifting with increasing the price for the seller because of the multiple offers that come in. And then there's still another opportunity if a buyer wants to offer more and they receive a counter offer from the seller, then they can increase their price at that time, which ends up doing that heavy lifting as far as getting the price up to where the home is actually worth.
I think sometimes, if I can, and I'd love to get your opinion, Shannon, as well, but Patricia and I are involved in this directly, I feel like real estate agents sometimes say things to their customers as though they're laws of science as opposed to preferred strategies or opinions. So, for example, should you offer the best you can on the house, not high just to get an escrow with the idea you're going to cancel or cut, but to offer what you think is fair the most you can. That's one strategy. And as a listing agent, that's how I look at offers, because when I get an offer and then the buyer's agent says, oh, he'll raise another $50,000, in my mind, yeah, they will. But then when they inspect it, in their mind they've overpaid, they're going to come back and negotiate. It's going to be tough to get closed. That's my preferred strategy. I know there are agents who do the opposite, which is always offer low, keep some powder in your pocket, and that way if there's counter offers you can go up and raise. And and I've had agents argue with me that that's their preferred strategy as well. And I feel like, well, I'm the listing agent. If you call me and ask me before you write an offer, I'll tell you my approach, and you can act accordingly. This one agent was really upset with me. And I said, well, I've answered my phone and returned every call I've ever got on this listing. But I do say there's two strategies. So, Patricia, I think you and I differ on this. I'm a firm believer in just write your best offer, and let's just look at your numbers based on that, unless there's something that comes up that changes your mind. And I know you're more of the one to leave a little room to counter. Is that because you experience more counter offers on the buyer side, or what's your strategy or thinking behind that advice?
Yes, I normally will, for every listing, because every neighborhood is different as far as the demand and the amount of offers that are come in. So it just depends. I talk to the listing agent, see what kind of activity there is.
There you go.
On the property. Do they have one offer? Do they have multiple? Multiple can be 2, it could be 10. But obviously the more offers they have, the higher in demand the property is.
Right.
And so it's really it's an individual analysis that I do for every property, because depending on the feedback I get from the listing agent, there have been cases where the demand is so strong for this property and there's already 8 offers and it's been listed for maybe 3 or 4 days, then I know what my buyer's max is as far as what their maximum qualification would be, and what they're comfortable paying as well, because I don't want them to get cold feet once we're in the transaction and say, forget it, I think I bid off more than I can chew, I don't think this is a house for us, and then they can make up different reasons why they want to cancel, but it's all really related to the monthly payment and what they're essentially paying. So it's really a balance between what I'm getting, what the feedback I'm getting from the listing agent, how badly my clients want the home, and then I meet my clients where they're at. And then I will just be completely honest and say, look, if you guys really want this house, you see yourself living there, and you feel that connection when you walk through that door, then you got to come out swinging with your offer. Shorter contingencies, let's offer X more, because if there's been a similar property that has sold that is close to the offer price, like for example, the home we offered here in Downey, I said let's offer 850. That's what got us accepted. But there is also comparables at 850. So I explained to my clients they actually underlisted the property to get more traction. So don't feel like you're offering over the list price. We're actually aligning with the market. And so this is going to appeal to the seller because they see you're a strong buyer, and we've studied the market. We know where the offers should be at. So it's a balance. It's a balance between what the buyer's expectations are, what the seller is trying to accomplish with the sale. Do they want a quick close? Do they want to wait the 30 days, get a buyer that has strong qualifications and financing, and wait out those 30 days and maybe get 20,000 over their price, as opposed to accepting a cash offer from an investor and they're going to come in 50 grand lower. So that's my strategy. It depends. Depends on the listing.
And I think that strategy is exactly why you want a real estate agent who's knowledgeable, because that's exactly why you want them, is that negotiating power to get you in the door. And for me, on the loan side, I've been in this situation where, hey, you guys are, going over strategy. Hey, should we offer 800? Should we offer 850? My job is to give you, hey, worst case scenario. Hey, if you were to at 850, hey, your loan officer say, hey, this is your bottom line. This is how much you're gonna, pay a month. This is how much it's gonna be cash to close. This is how much you're gonna need altogether, right? So when you're negotiating strategy, obviously you're gonna have the loan officer let you know the numbers of what does 850 mean, because a lot of times people think that in monthly payment terms is a lot, and it's probably less than what you think in your head, right? Going up that 50,000, right? Especially if you're doing FHA, well, you're 3.5%, another 50,000 of that. It's not that much, right? And then on the monthly payment side, it's it may be, and I get this a lot too. Oh, that's not as much as I was thinking. Yeah, no, I mean, you really want to see what monthly payment you're gonna be with, and on the other side too, contingency times, right? She talked about contingency windows. Should we shorter our time frames? Because a lot of agents, they want to close faster, right? And if you have a loan, especially if you have a first-time home buyer loan, a lot of agents are very skeptical about it because they know there's a lot of paperwork that has to be involved. So in that case, on the loan side, you want to make sure that all your ducks in a row. I saw this stuff up front now, right? Like you within 48 hours, give me all this stuff now. I need to get verification of employment forms done now. I need to get a bunch of things are already in place, which is not a problem. And the other thing too is the appraisal, right? Because the appraisal is something that you're gonna have to pay out of pocket. Usually a lot of clients, they want, hey, Shannon, I want to do the inspection first. I want to make sure the house is okay before we order the appraisal. I get that a lot, right? But if you're on a time crunch and if you want to get in the door in this property, maybe we have to order the appraisal right away. And you're like, Shannon, why does that matter? Well, because again, the appraisal is one of the only things that you do have to pay outside of escrow and out of pocket. And that's non-refundable because, the deal could close, the deal could fall through because of two main reasons, right? Whatever was popped up on the inspection report, and if it appraised. And, if you guys fall out because of one of those two things, the appraiser and the inspector still need to get their money, right? Professionals such as myself and Patricia and Bill, if the deal doesn't close, we don't get paid because we get paid when you get what you want, which is that house. So, when you're, as a first-time homebuyer looking at this, you're going to have two people on your team, right? Then someone to negotiate that price for you and negotiate, hey, how can we get you in the door? That dream, like you said, that dream house. If Patricia's like, look, I want this house, and Patricia's going to make sure you get it. And on my side, I'm going to let you know financially, this is what it's going to look like if you were to get that house, let's say at 850. Now, where I see a lot of people go wrong is they say, okay, well, it's 850, but they're banking on a seller credit that's not there yet, right? Oh, well, like you said, I'm
Right.
going to get an 850, but I'm going to ask for 10 back. And I'd say, no. Look, I want to make sure you're okay. And I'm pretty sure Patricia or whoever agent you're working with is one of the best negotiators out there. But I still want you to be prepared for the worst case scenario. So, unless it's in black and white, hey, we agree to X amount and you're going to give us X amount in credit, if that's not written down, a lot of mistake I see a lot of buyers make is they're counting on something that's not there yet, which is a hypothetical credit towards their closing costs. But I always like to say, hey, look, this is your worst case scenario, right? This is how much you're going to need. And I hate to be the bad guy, right? But I just want I'd rather say, hey, you're going to need, let's just say, for example, you're going to need 50,000 to get this done. And I'd rather come back and say, you know what, things came back a little cheaper. You actually only need 47 or 48, and it comes out much better. A lot of people think, wow, these costs are a little higher, but who knows? This property is in a fire zone or couldn't be in a fire zone. And that's another thing. Insurances are changing their fire zone maps. The map of what's considered fire and what's not considered fire is ever changing now, especially after what happened in California. Each insurance company is now rewriting what they consider to be in a fire zone. So you might be like, hey, I'm nowhere near a fire zone, right? But according to the insurance, this is now, a fire risk. So again, things like that to where, hey, you might not expect, but as a loan officer, a good loan officer should never have you surprised about any fees, right? You should, and a lot of times my clients are very surprised and shocked about, hey, this loan officer saying my closing costs are going to be X amount. Why are you saying it's this amount? Like, well, yes, I can tell you your closing costs are only going to be $5. At the end of the day, it's just an estimate until we get into escrow. And 9 times out of 10, the seller is the one who chooses who your title and escrow is. 9 times out of 10, right? Not to say you can't negotiate that, but usually that's the case. So I don't know what that title and escrow is going to charge. Neither does any other loan officer. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just assume that they're one of the most expensive title and escrow companies that we've seen thus far. And the reason why I'm going to do that is because I want you to be prepared, right? And if it comes back a little cheaper, great. If the insurance comes back a little cheaper, you don't need fire, you don't need flood, you don't need all these things, great. But again, good loan officer, I want to scare you up front and have you be prepared. I don't want to scare you, but I just want you to be prepared for the worst case scenario. And again, at the end of the transaction, you'll be pleasantly surprised of like, okay, hey, you know what? I don't have to spend that much. I can go to other things, as opposed to the other way around, which I've seen where, hey, this person told me I only had to put in this amount, now I have to put in this amount, what's going on here? And I say, well, they just, they lowballed you to get in the sale. So again, that's why having a good agent, having a loan officer is good, because you need a good agent to negotiate that price. You need a loan officer to get you prepared for what's to come financially in this process. So that way, hey, if the credit comes, great. If it doesn't, you've already been prepared regardless. And yeah, so that's my soapbox on it.
Well, yeah, I think that's a lot of good information there. If I had a common thread between what you said and what Patricia said before about working with the buyer on the pricing strategy, the key is communication, right? She started, she gave this great description about the market research, but she started the conversation with, I talked to the listing agent to get their perspective and integrate that in the answer. In your case, you talk about communicating with the customer up front what the expectations are, what the costs are. And I think this business with all the AI and technology, and I use a lot. I mean, I'm every day trying to work on new tools to automate more of what I do. But that said, that gives me more time to talk to people about the problems. And so when I talk to people about the problems, I have a chance to solve some of them. And the key is that extra phone call. I just find every single time people call me, I can make an extra call, talk to them as a human being. It changes the whole relationship.
Absolutely. People still want that human connection and feel like they're talking to a real person and not a bot on the other end.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so
yeah, I think if you're go ahead, Ben.
No, go ahead, Jen.
Oh no, I was just gonna end off with, look, if you find yourself, with a great agent like Patricia and going over, hey, where should we offer? Make sure you talk to your loan officer and say, hey, look, I'm looking at, which I do a lot, right? Is, hey, if I were to offer 800, 850, 875, can I get scenarios on each, all three of them, assuming that, right, we can qualify for it, but get that loan estimate. And that loan estimate should give you three major components is one, what is the total monthly payment going to be? Two, what is my estimated cash to close, right? How much am I going to need dollar amounts all in with everything included? So I know exactly how much it's going to be. And what is that rate today? Because sometimes if you're going, over a certain amount of limit, that rate could change, right? So just get those three things from your loan estimate. So that way you have, okay, I have my price. I have exactly what the number is going to be on the back end. So I'm not surprised there. That way you can make an educated decision on what you're going to want to do moving forward. And also too, if you want to lock that date, because especially if you're going to move fast, you might not want to gamble on the interest rate. You might want to lock it as soon as we get in contract, or not. I don't know. I tend to have buyers that are willing to gamble a lot. I always say, hey, lock it first, and I've been getting, let's wait. Which, again, a total preference, but I just don't like this. Yeah.
Well, I think we're kind of at our time here. Patricia, what do you have going on this weekend, and where can somebody reach you to find out some exciting stuff about real estate?
I will be hosting an open house at my listing in West Covina. It's a condo, two bedroom, 2 bath, 1 story, beautiful FHA approved condo near bordering the city of Walnut. So if you're interested, stop by on Sunday, 2800 Paseo Cancun in West Covina. And my phone number is 323-365-9909.
Shannon, if anyone wants more information on mortgages, get the update on the rates and fees and costs and such, how they get a hold of you?
Yes, you can call me at my cell phone 661-317-8484, or you can go to my Instagram FUND Fund with Shannon, where we post our rates daily on how much you can get for FHA, conventional, different programs. You'll see what the best rates are in today's market.
Nice. I'm Bill Gross, at Bill Gross Probate. If you want to reach out to me, if I can help in any way, please let me know. This is our home bar seminar. We get together every week. A new episode drops on Friday. Last week it was live because we kind of ran out of time and we went live. That was kind of fun. But this, usually we record this a day or two in advance. If I can help, please reach out on behalf of Patricia and Shannon. Make today your best day ever. Thank you so much, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.